Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Onchain Media podcast. I'm here today with some absolutely incredible guests. I'm just over the moon today. We have Kristen from Flannel Donut. We have Rob Shaw from Flannel Donut, executive producer of Tiny Chef, and the resume goes on. We're going to dive into everything here today, but super excited. And Kristen, thank you so much for organizing, for teeing up this podcast today, and just super excited to dive in. I know I'm going to see you tomorrow for filming our short documentary, and just a lot of exciting things happening right now. And this entire podcast, I want this to be dedicated to any filmmakers out there, creatives, animators, anyone that is working as a creative in the entertainment and media space. So without further ado, I do want to go around the room and just do our introductions. Kristen, if you want to kick us off with just sharing who you are, what project you're working on, and what your role is, and we'll pass it over to Rob.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Kristen. I got two main things going on. One of them is a documentary-based studio called Pattern Integrity Films. The other one is an animation studio called Flannel Donut that I am a co-founder with, along with Rob and our other partner, Pippin. Came into the blockchain space a number of years ago, probably not as long ago as most people, but we got our start on the GameStop NFT marketplace. Had some amazing success there with our films. We had a docuseries that did really well. Have been focused on bridging the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 by, showing our docuseries in a live setting, such as the Portland International Airport, which sees surprisingly 250,000 people a month sit in those seats in the airport, which is just insane to me. And then, with the on-chain experience, so having the series and our episodes just token gated, people purchase NFTs, they get involved, they become producers of our films, and then are able to view them on that side as well. This February, we launched Flannel Donut with Rob and pretty much just kicked the doors in from the jump.
I love it.
With his project, You Play Too Much. I will let him cover that because it is just such it's way ahead of its time. Let me just put it to you that way. But it was perfect for this space. Followed up on the heels of that with his short film, The Machine. And right now we are rolling out assets slowly but surely on Zora with his project, Two Bottles. So that will be dropping probably in the next 2 weeks, the full film on that. So look for us on Zora at Flannel Donut. And off to you, Rob.
Yeah. So thank you. I'm Rob Shaw. I'm a director of animated or kind of fringy things. It's kind of hard to like say what I do, but it's like I've directed a bunch of different stuff over the years. Most recently, I was the supervising director on season 2 of the Tiny Chef show. And as Kristen said, we launched a Flannel Donut this February. I think we had only been talking for a month or two before that. So yeah. It was really like we connected, and we'll get into that whole story. We connected through other filmmakers, but I am a total convert to the Film 3 model because it answers so many of the issues that I feel like I have with trying to be an artist within the entertainment industry.
Wow. Well, I don't know, Kristen, if you know this GIF, but I just pictured the GIF like one of us when he said that, like exactly from Wolf of Wall Street, one of us. That makes my heart so happy to hear. And listen, we're going to dive in during this podcast and talk about, some of the issues systemically that are wrong with the entertainment industry and what Film 3 is doing about it. And I really think you guys, these two folks here are pioneering in this industry. So very excited to dive in all today. But by the way, I want to take a moment and just show to our viewers watching the podcast today who the Tiny Chef is. I feel like when you see the Tiny Chef, you'll probably know. You've probably seen this guy on Instagram, or if you have a niece, nephew, child, you've probably seen him on Nickelodeon or Nick Jr. But yeah, this is the Tiny Chef. Are you guys able to hear?
Yeah.
So precious. So yeah, you guys get the idea. Absolutely adorable, precious. Like I've watched, the Tiny Chef and have seen little clips on Instagram, and it's just always something that's brought me like a little spark of joy throughout the day. Like when you're scrolling on the timeline, it's something that makes you stop. I don't know. It's like, stops you in your tracks. I don't know how else to explain it other than like, it's something that just like, I don't know. I appreciate and view it truly as art, So I do want to dive more into that. Rob, and kind of talk about an overview of your contributions on the Tiny Chef, and maybe kind of diving more into like work you've done in your portfolio.
Yeah. So I think like if we start with Tiny Chef, that Tiny Chef existed on social media for years. That team had been building up him and his world, and I think their approach to him as a character is pretty brilliant, and I think it aligns with how I approach characters too, which is I think why we've worked so well together. But it's really just considering like Chef is a real character out there in the universe, and then you're just working with Chef, if that makes sense. So it would be like, I mean, he's like a reality TV star where like you're not putting personality on top of this character. You're like almost everything that you do creatively with Chef is like it's driven by Chef. So it's like there's like a premise for an episode or something, and then it's like, well, how would he react to this, and what would happen with this, and it goes through every department, like all the way from his voice talent, Matt, who does Chef's voice, like channeling this spirit when he's recording, all the way
He's
to
probably
like,
a really wholesome guy. Like you can just tell, like the wholesome.
He is a super funny dude, and if you saw and met Matt, you would never think Tiny Chef, but like it's really it's pretty amazing. Like, he's like he's like a dude with a mustache, and like to hear this little tiny funny voice come out of him.
That's hilarious.
But like even from the animator perspective, like, say the animator has a shot of Chef and he's whatever cooking carrots for a thing, and when I've talked to animators about how they approach it, I've one animator, Jen Prokopowicz, who like she said to me one day, she was like, I just go in there and I think like, what's this little guy up to today? And it's like that kind of like a treatment of, rather than, I guess the whole thing is like not projecting onto him, but letting Chef guide the whole thing. It's like a magic thing, and I think the impact of this character is that he feels so real and alive out there in the world. There was a post recently, so we didn't get greenlit for season 3 of the show, and there was a post that went like hyper viral.
I saw.
Where he gets the notice, and he's kind of like, when he gets it, he's kind of like, all right, what are we gonna do? Like he thinks like it's, like we've won an Emmy and an Annie this year. We won the first season, which I wasn't a part of, but first season won an Emmy Award and an Annie Award. It's been, the ratings have been really good. So it was like he answers this call with the expectation that they're going to talk about like what are they doing next. Answers this call and he thinks it's going to be good news, and then it's bad news, and you watch him in the moment hear and accept it. And just to be clear, like this is the creator of the show, they do the social media side of things. So I didn't direct this piece or anything, but you watch him kind of take in the news and try to deal with it, and then he tries to keep dusting, and then he starts crying, and it's just such a real moment of disappointment that I think
%. I would love to play it. I have to say, watching this, like I'm getting chills while I'm talking about this. You guys, it is a moment that we have all felt that, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. This is art. Art is something that makes you feel something and kind of like unlocks like core memories, emotions. Like, oh my God, I know exactly what he's feeling. So it's very powerful. I'll let the clip speak for itself. But yeah, we'll go ahead and play it.
Let's put a Tiny Chef here. Hey, Black of Wodan, Black of Ewan. Ready to cook up some
So
more
adorable.
Black of a brilliant blanket.
Oh my God, that part.
Yeah.
Like, no, my heart.
It hurts.
Yeah. I mean, and especially as creative people, so much of your life is rejection. Like all anybody knows from what they see is your successes, but there's nobody like that. Everybody is gets rejected or let go. or unappreciated, like all of that stuff is it, we all go through it, and just to see it kind of distilled down in this little guy is a pretty powerful thing.
Extremely powerful. And by the way, Kristen shared this clip with me when this happened, and I remember looking, it was either on Instagram or some social media platform, and I started to see the traction that this got, the views, the comments, the support. It's like, we love the tiny chef. He's such a wholesome character that brings joy to people. And to see a community rally around that, I mean, that is super cool. And, you know, there is like a campaign going. Like, I saw the video is like Save Tiny Chef. So that's something I've seen. And, you know, I really hope the best for the team. People, I think, sometimes might not realize there are real people behind the voice, the animators, the real people behind this that dedicate their lives to this every day. So I think it's very important that we support these creators who have created like a kind of a once in a lifetime character here, you know? So anyway, I'm curious, Kristen, if you have any, I know you have thoughts on this, if you want to share anything.
Well, I mean, anytime something like this happens, I love to like take this after I cry, right? After I cry it. I mean, just the way he goes, well, what about Rob?
I know.
Like, oh my God. And he like lists off all his friends, and it's just like, anyway, after I cried that out, I like to take scenarios like this and really look at the impact. And to me, the first thing I did was I made a post on Twitter, because that's where, you know, we have the most, I guess, like feedback from people. So I posted it on Twitter, and then I followed it up the next day with, you know, oh, and by the way, since this went up, Tiny Chef got another 400, almost 500,000 subscribers on TikTok. And then the following day, I followed it up with, and here's another 200,000. And here's another 100,000. You know, so it's like, just to be able to see, and that was just TikTok. I didn't look at anything else. You know, to see the response from people, and this, you know, again, this points to like some of the topic of our conversation today. This really shows what people want to see, and the, you know, current state of things. You know, networks and streaming platforms and all those things aren't paying attention to that, because I mean, I understand they have other things to meet and stuff that we don't understand, and whatever, I'll never really want to understand that sort of thing, because
fiduciary responsibility.
I think serving your audience is your number one responsibility. But to me, that just shows, it's like, this is what the people want to see. Once again, that's being, you know, cut off from them.
Yeah.
It's a use case. It just proves it, you know? So yeah, go for it, Rob.
I was just going to say the thing that I think like relates to this, but like the from our perspective as creative people, it's really inspiring to see not just the response, but also just like the kind of like, it's a real punk rock move for them to.
I was thinking that.
Take control of this moment where like, and that's the thing is like, it's a gigantic world, and we're all such like tiny people, and you feel like you have to get whatever your work is. I mean, especially in film and animation, where like it's so expensive and the venues to see it are all also controlled. So it's like getting your work even made and then getting it seen is such a huge challenge, and it's so out of your control so much of the time. So many shows get canceled, and they're just canceled, and the network owns the show that they canceled. So there is nothing that anybody can do about it. It just goes away. And I think kind of like the kind of beautiful thing about this moment was that this is someone's life work, as you put it, you know, and I think that's exactly right. Like this is Rachel and Ozzy and Jason and Matt. This is their life work to create this character and this universe. And to say like, no, I'm not just letting it, I don't just let it go because you're not going to keep going with it, or you're not going to invest with it. Like I'm going to take this moment, which is a really sad moment, and I'm going to create my own moment out of it. And I think that's like, I mean, I find that so inspiring, and I think
it is super punk rock. Yeah. And also it's definitely like, you can tell there are artists behind this, because what an artistic thing to do, to take a moment of such pain and turn it into something beautiful. Like that is what's happening here. Even that moment, like there's so much beauty in that, like being able to articulate and convey that emotion in this little tiny stop motion chef. It's like, that blows my mind. You know, it's extremely impressive.
even, and we'll get off this clip soon because I need to do this clip, but even just the grace of how it's done, that it didn't attack the network. The chef says "I love you" on the phone.
It says "I love you" on it.
It's like it's such a sweet, honest, charming moment, like my response, like if it was me instead of chef, my response would definitely have been more like "fuck you, fuck it," like
double barrel.
I would not have.
Sorry, Nickelodeon, if you see this.
Right.
I would not have ended a call with "I love you," but I think that's just part of what's so like moving about that 100%. Clip. And also all of his stuff. I mean, so much of his stuff is just him dancing to music or him enjoying cooking in the kitchen or whatever. All these little things that don't have that level of impact, but they do. It's amazing how well, like, animation that is emotional and that's honest, like, resonates with people in a way like that's just magical. And I think that's kind of what's always drawn me to it in the first place, is just the idea that you're in animation, you get to take moments out of life and you get to distill them down where people really notice them. Like, like would anyone notice if you had a live action, someone dusts something and tries to go back to dusting and then they cry? Like, I feel like that moment would get missed, and in animation you get to really pinpoint those moments and cut the rest of it out where people can just take that moment in. And all of the best animation like does that, whether it's comedy or whether it's tragedy or whatever you're trying to convey, it serves up that emotion in such a pure way. And I think when it's used, that's its power,
I think it's honest art too. I mean, in that scene, I know we're going deep into the scene here, but you're really seeing the stages of grief almost, right? Like partially you're seeing, like, when you first get that major news, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to go about my life the best I can. And then you realize I can't, and you start falling apart. And it's like, you're like seeing that happen in real time. And it's just like, I don't know, that scene really blew me away. And I think that's like kind of like almost like your guys' swan song, it's like, yeah, this is what we can do. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Now the community is all like, okay, we got to save this guy. So anyway, really inspiring story. And the fact that you guys, like, this team around Tiny Chef is able to continue, that just sounds like, I'm hopeful for the future of Tiny Chef. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah, it sounds like,
I feel like Chef is in whatever form, and whether I'm attached to it or not, Chef is gonna continue on because
he's gonna cook. Chef is gonna cook. Awesome. Well, I have a lot of questions for you guys here today, and if we can kind of rewind the clock and go like earlier on in your guys' career, I know like one common thread between you both, Kristen and Rob, is your love for stop motion animation. I'm curious, like, what the early days of like figuring out this was something you love to do, what did that look like for each of you? Like, when did that moment kind of happen for you both?
Yeah, I mean, Rob, I'll go first, and I'll go real quick because I've got probably like the amount of love that I have for animation is like in my pinky nail, and then Rob is like, and I love animation, so that should say a lot. I'd have to say my first, I mean, from just growing up and being a kid, I used to watch a lot of like weird shows, being a kid in the late 70s and early 80s. They really showed anything to kids. I feel like, so as a result, I watched a lot of weird stuff and before, for example, like before Nickelodeon became Nickelodeon, they were called Pinwheel, and Pinwheel had, some regular, it was sort of like this whole channel, like how Nickelodeon is, but they had all these like weird different programs, and they had this one thing called Today's Special, and Today's Special also showed like all these very short clips of, animation, and a lot of it was European, a lot of it was French, and just being pulled into that world as a child was just epic. Even though you couldn't speak the language, you could, the story was there, and it's just like, it was just so beautiful. And then, growing up past that, I have to say, the intro to Pee-wee's Playhouse was just everything to me. I remember all I wanted was clay, and I built, on this whole board in my mom's office, like tried to redo the whole set and tried to do that whole thing myself, the intro, and just, it was something that just changed me. in terms of, storytelling. And then from there, I'd also say, like, I very much, prior to that, I very much was in love, like absolutely in love with when Michael Jackson came out with Thriller. I remember exactly where I was the first time I saw it as a kid. I remember my aunt's, gnarly avocado colored shag rug that I was on. And I just, the eyes, the yellow eyes. And then they had it behind the scenes where they showed how long it took to do his makeup, and he had these, yellow contacts in, and the choreography and just everything was just, I was like, I want to do that. Like that's everything to me. That, like, not only does it look fun, but it just looks like the people are also incredible. And as an extension into the stop motion, especially the stop motion animation world, the people are so incredibly talented and fun to work with. There's people that are very specific with specialties like knitting sweaters out of tiny threaded needles, to people that build huge sets and puppets, and just, it's phenomenal. And from that point, I'm going to turn it over to Rob, because he's just going to.
Well, one thing I want to say, Kristen, is like, we didn't even mention this in your intro, but you actually got to work on the movie Coraline, which is like one of the most, like, that movie is infamous for its animation, for its art style. So I kind of want to come back around and like ask you about your experience on that, because it's like very impressive. But yeah, Rob, I'm curious, like, earlier on in your career, what that moment was for you. Like, when did the light bulb go off where you're like, yeah, stop motion animation, this is what I want to do?
Well, I think the moment for me, it was more like I knew I wanted to do some kind of animation before I did stop motion. I think the first kind of animation I did was stop motion, but I think that's most people, because you have like clay lying around and you have somebody's camera and you can start moving it in front, before you really even know what you're doing. And I think if I jump forward to like why stop motion is kind of like my first love in animation, I think it's because of the accessibility of it, and the fact that, it feels like something you can do by yourself. And you normally don't do it by yourself. It's usually a huge team of people, but just, like a lot of the films that I work on are in my basement, and they're 90% me doing everything. And I think that kind of creative approach really appeals to me as like and it always has, like from a punk DIY kind of aesthetic starting point, like being able to do everything myself and having everything be tactile, and also having it be kind of the outsider of animation, I think all of those things kind of have made it really important, or feel like the natural fit for me. But like the actual moment when I realized I wanted to do animation film was when there was a Transformers animated movie, and I remember thinking like, this is like they're making like real film, like real art. Like I was so blown away as a little kid, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And it was really like, it was definitely like one of those moments where like once I made that decision, and I was a little kid, and like once I made that decision, I was like on the road. Like I was like, every decision after that was like, I got to learn how to do this, and I got to do this, and set me on my path, as it were.
Wow. Well, thank you for, just giving some of the background there. You both, I kind of want to like touch on both of your creative styles and what's influenced it. But, both of you are based in Portland, and I am curious, like, what about being in Portland has influenced your artistic voice and your style and your creativity? Like, I'm curious what that looks like for both of you.
Well, I would bet that we're going to have very like kind of similar answers, or answers that line up with each other, because a big part of Flannel Donut is this idea that we are making animated works in the Pacific Northwest with Pacific Northwest artists, like not exclusively, but like largely working with the artists here to make animated work that builds on the Film 3 model. So it's like, for me, this place feels like, I grew up in Philadelphia, but when I moved to Portland, I was like, this feels more like home in a way. Like I found my people. It's very intentional to live here. Like the people that there's very little industry here, and it's really like the people that live here are the people that want to live here, which was a new idea for me. And it's just full of artists and creative people that are following their own path, right? And so what that what that does to the creative pool is it makes it so that you're constantly seeing new things and having new flavors of art thrown upon you, because no one's chasing an industry model the way that they are when they're in other places. Like a lot of
Right.
places are kind of like, I want to do character design for animation, say. And if I go to a place that's got a big character design industry, then I start like working into a model of what happens there. Whereas this is more like, to Kristen's earlier point about the person that like crochets tiny sweaters. I guarantee that person didn't do that so that they would be working in stop motion films. I guarantee that it's just some weirdo who started crocheting little sweaters. And then the stop motion industry is like, we need this,
We need you to crochet tiny sweaters. We
exactly.
Need you.
Like years and years ago, I did this commercial that was all needle felted characters and set pieces and stuff. And the team that we put together was like several people that had already worked in animation, but several people that had never touched animation, and they just were needle felting. And the wildest thing was that they would like specialize in different things in needle felting. Like it would be like, oh, this person creates exact replicas of products, but in needle felting. And this person does like vintage synthesizers, but like needle felt sculptures of. And so like that's what
so
I
cool.
mean is like you find.
So it's like as niche as it gets.
Exactly.
I don't think it gets more niche than that.
And I guess and actually like what that makes me think about it, like boiling it down, it's this like eclectic, everything gets mixed in the pot approach to creativity that makes each job so exciting. Like you're never
a dull
doing,
moment.
Exactly. Yeah. You're always starting from how do we build this thing up? You're never like, all right, well, we've got this machine and we're just putting ingredients in one side of the machine and it creates the Pop-Tart out the other side of the machine. It's like, no, every single time you have to like recreate the machine and rebuild to get this new aesthetic. I like that's endlessly inspiring. I think it makes both Kristen and I have kind of like aesthetics where we're like, there's a lot of like collage thinking in how we do things. What can we grab from here and mishmash that up into something new, hopefully.
You're describing my artistic. So I actually come from an art background. I studied fine art. So a lot of my art, it would say, what medium is this? Acrylic, oil? I'm like everything, mixed media. Whatever I need, whatever my brain is like, okay, this will create that effect. Let's go in with that. This will create that effect. So you're kind of describing my creative process too. Many people watching this podcast might not even know that. Yeah, I studied, so also coming from a creative background as well.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Kristen, would love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, the thing about Portland is, I mean, I've lived in other places. I'm from New York, born in Connecticut.
Same, from New York too.
Spent most of my life, or not most, but half of my life on the East Coast, and I'll be officially a Portlander for 20 years next February. So came here to just work on one thing, and then I was going to go back home.
That's how it goes.
I want to say that the thing that I love so much about this place is like you could take any like harebrained idea or just whatever, or just something crazy off the wall, and be like throw it on the table, see what some other people think, and like their reaction is like, and you're like, I don't know why we would do that, and they're like, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. Like, the Portland in general is just screamingly enthusiastic for off the wall,
non-conventional.
That gives them something to talk about, to explore, to be re-inspired by. Like it's just it's a cool spot that really, I don't know, it's like a living organism that constantly feeds my sense of creativity, that's for sure. So that's why I've been here for so long.
It's definitely a good place for artists, creatives, anyone that kind of wants to go against the grain in society and do something different. I feel like all of those types of people go to Portland,
For sure. And it's not just animation. I mean, like the indie, filmmaking scene, like there's people making all sorts of stuff. And, not to mention, we have a beautiful backdrop, pretty much anything that you want. You go this way for 2 hours, you get the desert. Go that way for an hour, you get a gorgeous coast. Here's the
waterfalls, mountains.
Rainforest. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's there's so much to work with here. And then I just want to say, like, there's just things that bring out the quirky side in me that makes me I just feel freer to be who I am and bring that to the table. Yeah, I mean, a great example is Flannel Donut applied for this not crypto, but like blockchain kind of position yesterday. And, I'm like filling out their online form, and it's like, drop your resume here. And I'm like, fucking resume? What? I don't foresee anything about that being exciting to read through, like a list of things that we've done. So I just said to Rob, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to just do something kind of off the wall and at least make them want to read it. And if they're reading it and they're like, what the hell is this? And who do these people think they are? Maybe that will lead to, you know what? I'm going to look up these assholes. And to me, that's how you get somebody on the hook to find out who you are. Not like, here's a list of credentials and that's it. It's more like ripped pieces of paper taped to something, and our resume sort of runs off the page like that's been ripped off, right? The height of what you're describing, what you do. Just have it be like, we like to make cool shit, cross out film, and just make it so that it's fun for
it's something different coming across their desks.
Yeah, and then it's just like, and by the way, like the reels are kind of what's more like, that's the more exciting stuff.
Right,
like you want to look at the website and the films and all the projects that we made. But sure, here's our resume. Just tongue in cheek a little bit. Maybe
yeah, that's clever. I like that. All right, so just out of curiosity, we've talked about how Portland has influenced your creative voices. I'm curious, Rob. I've seen your work you've done on Portlandia with rats. What was that journey like for you?
I mean, it was really, really fun, and it was more successful than almost anything I had worked on up to that point. It was really like the challenge of doing that was that, like, the way that they make Portlandia is it's mostly improv. So if you have
wow,
yeah,
I did not know that.
So if you have like a 3-minute segment on Portlandia, they probably shoot like an hour and a half of coverage for that, and then they find it in the edit, right? Like they edit down and they get all the little bits that are like the funniest or the weirdest, and they kind of carve it out in the edit. And with animation, you can't really do that because every frame is so much work. So it was like, the challenge was like, well, how do we get the same? It needs to feel Portlandia. Like, it can't feel like it's a totally different show because it's animated. So what we did was we did that same kind of thing, but in the audio booth. So basically, like, Fred and Carrie and John all get into a recording studio, and they record like an hour and a half of material, and then you whittle that down into like a little segment for the show. And then we start animating from there. So we do like the storyboards and the animation from there. So it was like, I don't know, it was really fun to do something that animation doesn't normally get to do. It's such a labor intensive process, and to have something that feels so kind of like free and improvised in that medium was really fun and exciting. And then it was also like, a chance to kind of work closely with these, super funny people that I admired. So it was, it was all a really like exciting and unusual process for me. Like that there's very few moments, I think, that were as cool for me as getting to work on the Portlandia segments.
I mean, this is just absolutely incredible. And the fact that, like, you're saying it's so free and like it's easy to watch and it just flows so nicely. But behind the scenes, I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of work just for each little tiny like micro movement. It's really incredible. And then also to make it funny, like, okay, I was watching this last night and this part actually made me laugh out loud when they're writing the book. Let's see, right here. They're all upset because, they have bad PR with people, right?
Right.
And then they go by us rats. They say people are idiots and fools and so dumb. Okay, that's a good start. That just made me laugh. Like, I was like, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And they instantly buy into like whatever they're writing there, they're like basically saying like they can say whatever they want, and because it gets typed into a book, people will believe it. Like
exactly, it kind of shows like there's like a childlike innocence because they're rats. They don't know about the real world. So I think there's something very wholesome about it. But then you do feel the energy, like the comedy, right, coming through. And I just think all together, very well rounded, all of it. And how many of these did you produce, like, or put together?
I think there were I think 4 of them, but one of them was like, so the way Portlandia, like, for anybody that hasn't watched the show, the way Portlandia is kind of like constructed is like it's little vignettes, and there's usually one kind of like through line that kind of like goes underneath and kind of connects the little vignettes so that the episode feels like unified. And so most of them were just these little stories that fit into the episode, but there was one where the rats were the through line. It was the rats are moving. They decide they have to move to a new place, and so they have to find like the right neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was really fun because it was like a little longer, and it felt like we got to be like the focus of that episode. But yeah, we did 4 of those, and then I did a couple other things, just Portlandia things along the way. Like there's an episode called the Noodle Monster where they order these to-go noodles, and they're not supposed to. What was it? They're not supposed to leave them in water or something.
Oh, I've seen this. I know exactly what you're talking about. Wow.
The actual like monster, which is like a stop motion monster made out of noodles.
It's like a flying spaghetti monster.
Exactly.
Wow, this is awesome. I'm trying to. Okay,
there
maybe.
You go. Yeah, you can see.
You know what? I'm thinking of the one where she's asking where like the chicken
came
where the
from.
Chicken
grew up.
Can you tell me the farm? Can you tell me how it was raised? Like the name of the chicken. Like that's the one I remember. Let's take a look real quick because I'm curious to see your work.
So Portland too, by the way. I mean that stuff. It's like you think it's ridiculous, but it's like, man, it is so spot on.
Let's see. So at what point? So you.
There he goes.
Whoa. He's the best. He's so good.
Here comes another one.
Fantastic. Wow.
Anyway, that goes on and on.
Wow. So, okay. So you did all of the like creation of the noodles for that.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. I feel like we can have an entire discussion around just that. Like, yeah. Wow. Like what did you use to make all of that?
They were silicone noodles with wires inside, and then they just kind of like squiggled them into a big mass puppet.
Wow. That is so cool. Well, yeah, really amazing stuff. Like the fact that you even got to work on Portlandia, like that is so huge. Such a successful show, and really just impressive work that you've done. So question for both of you. So as folks who are deeply involved in film and entertainment, what do you think is really broken about the traditional film and animation pipeline?
I mean, I got a lot to say. Do you have, how do you want to?
Maybe Kristen can kick us off here.
I'll throw one thing out and then we'll let Rob run with it. I'd have to say, I feel like the traditional model of, movies and TV, I guess this is more like for movies, but I guess it can be this way for TV, but it's, I feel like the like artist and audience model is like, it's like a one-way transaction. I make the thing, you watch the thing, we're done. And that, I think, over time, and I feel like we're watching it play out, is exhausted. It doesn't feel sustainable. It doesn't feel, maybe it's worked for the last, 5 decades, but now we're at this point where streaming is sort of like hitting its ceiling. Shows are getting canceled. Movies aren't getting made. They're getting shelved. And I feel like that transactional model is exactly at least one of the points that's causing, some of this problem. And I mean, you could see it even with Tiny Chef is the perfect example of that. It's like clearly the people want Chef, but the show's not gonna happen. So it's just like, once again, over here, that's the transaction, right? But the people want Chef. So like, that's, the relationship that Chef has made with his people is because those people aren't an audience, they are his community. And so that's sort of like the difference between, and we can, get into this as we meander down this path towards towards what I feel like is the solution, which is blockchain and Web3 and Film 3. But that's the difference, is that there's, this transactional model of filmmaking that no longer is working. And the solution is that your audience is so much more than a movie ticket, or like a monthly Netflix cost. It's like the audience is so much more important than that. And
100%.
So, yeah.
And something we're going to be discussing, by the way, tomorrow we're working on this short documentary film that will be shown at Film 3 Festival called Onchain Humans and Impact. We are getting someone who's been in Hollywood for a very long time. And I'll tease one of the questions I'm going to ask. But I want to talk about algorithms versus art, right? How much have we allowed technology, machines, and computers to kind of dictate the direction of things based on scientifically or mathematically what we think people will want versus actually just hearing what people want, right? What has been lost in the storytelling and creative process, and how can we reclaim that? So that's something I really want to touch on, right? Because I feel like there are things that are broken with the entertainment and film industry, but there are things from back in the day, like if you guys have heard of dailies. Like, yeah, I was told Marcy, this woman who's going to be interviewed tomorrow, she was telling me about roundtables, right? How every day on these sets, the editing team will get together and review scene by scene, give their input, have like this feedback loop. Now they film and it gets shipped off to an editor, and it's a very fragmented process. So like, what can we take from the old ways of storytelling that has worked, and what are we kind of losing in like the newer, like what are the pros and cons of that, right? So anyway, I can go on a whole tangent on that, but curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say that highly relates to what I think is broken and has been broken, and we continue to chase the broken model instead of looking at building a new model. But to me, the biggest thing wrong with filmmaking, and I would say this is also true for television, but just to be like specific, like for films, the biggest thing that's wrong is that we're on this blockbuster model where we try to make something for everyone. And I think that is how you get
you dilute it.
Mediocrity that no one wants. And I think there was a time, in the 70s, the film model in the 70s was, you didn't give, like by today's money, it wouldn't be $100 million for one movie. You'd give $20 million to 5 movies. And then you've got 5 movies, and those 5 movies just have to find their audience. And so that's where you get movies like The Godfather, and that's where you get movies like Rosemary's Baby, where they don't have to sell to everyone. And sometimes they do sell to everyone. Like in the 90s, there was a resurgence of this model a little bit with the indie rise, and you had movies like Pulp Fiction where like it appealed to everyone. But it couldn't have appealed to everyone by setting out to appeal to everyone. Do you know what I mean? It had to set out to
have its own identity.
To have it's a creative person's expression, and it's setting out to do that. And the thing about that model is then then it's all gravy if it blows up and goes through the roof. But like you're only going after what you'll get this whatever niche audience. And I think that the further and further we've gone down this road, and to your point, like where we lean on algorithms are just a new evolution of testing, which has been around since the 50s, and this kind of like focus group testing idea of how to make things. And that's counter to creativity. Like you don't make things by trying. I will never make something that Kristen wants by asking myself, does Kristen want this? Is Kristen going to like this? Like it's just a fact. Like that is the wrong path in art. And the path that works is, will I like this? Do I think that this works?
Ooh, I love it. Staying true to you, staying true to your voice. Because when you try to cater to everyone, when you try to speak to everyone, you really end up speaking to no one. Absolutely. And diluting your own voice. And also, like, there's this old poem I saw. There's no way I'm going to quote this verbatim, but it's like, if you go through life with like a mask on, right? Or like trying to please everyone, you might miss out on the person who deep down can relate to you, right? And understands
Absolutely.
you. And you're missing an opportunity for authentic human connection through storytelling. So I think that's a big opportunity that we should stop, missing the boat on.
And that's all we have to offer. When you break it down, all we as creative people have to offer the world is through our work, something that is human that can't be expressed with words or can't be expressed any other way. We have communication, we can express ourselves to like whatever, 75%. And then there's this other part that never gets out. And this is a way that you do that. And the work that's the most meaningful is the work where you read a book or you watch a movie or you go see a painting and it connects to you on a level that's like really moves you because nothing else has been able to like connect on that level. And the idea that we're going to try to do that by chasing what an algorithm says we should do at minute 7 in a movie just seems like insane. Like it seems so insane, but it's safer. All of this stuff, all of this testing and algorithms, when you're someone who's in charge of the money at a network or at a studio, or you're at Netflix and you've got to green light things and you've got to slash things, the safest model is going to be, well, I've got the numbers to back it up. We ran the algorithm and it's being watched in this way, and that's what we're going for. But the problem is that's just an echo chamber of, I'm getting into a rabbit hole here, but like
rabbit holes are welcome on this show.
As we use, I'm not against AI as a tool for creative people at all, but I think that the dark side of AI is that it's a creative echo chamber where it's scraping and rescraping itself. It's like making a copy of a tape of a copy of a copy of a copy, and then in 10 years the whole thing has been like ground down to nothing. Whereas if you're cultivating something where there's new voices doing new things and putting new information out there, that's just going to grow and get bigger and bigger. And that's kind of like our for Flannel Donut, that's kind of our vision of Film 3, is that like the dream of Film 3 answers all of the problems that we have as independent filmmakers with the Hollywood system.
Oof. I mean, you just dropped so many gems. I gotta recollect myself here. Kristen, I do have a question specifically for you, and Rob would also love to hear you chime in as well. But we started touching on the on-chain space, Film 3. Kristen, I know you're a huge advocate and pioneer in the Film 3 space. You're throwing the Film 3 Festival in San Francisco, which I want to highlight. I want to underscore the significance of like kind of where we're at currently with mine and Kristen's work. Like, connecting with her, connecting with Pippin has inspired me, running a media company, having a podcast, to step into a new medium and actually experiment with film. Tomorrow is the very first time I will be creating a short film. And my God, you guys, I just have such a huge respect for filmmakers, because even working on an 8, 12, 20-minute thing, it's like so much work. You guys have no idea how much heart goes into this, how much blood, sweat, and tears goes into the creative process of filmmaking and creating shows and media and entertainment. So much respect. And, Kristen and Pippin and Flannel Donut, that has been a catalyst for me to really dive deeper into this medium. So Kristen, I just want to thank you. And I'm so excited to interview you again tomorrow. We got back-to-back days together. So yeah, my final question was just, how do you both envision the on-chain space solving problems, or Film 3 solving problems for the traditional media and film industry?
I mean, I'd have to say that it's most like basic level. Film 3 can solve a lot of the issues that indie filmmakers especially struggle with. That's, everything from fundraising to finding people to work with, to maybe more funds for post-production, and finally distribution. And to me, those things begin to get solved when we start to look at the different tools that are available to us. A really simple example that I think a lot of the audience will identify with is NFTs. And then as an extension of that, I'll say Zora is a great platform in terms of whether Zora wants to fully acknowledge this as a huge tool for filmmakers or not. I mean, I know that they believe it for anybody really, and for content creators, but it is a platform that's much further past than just say like, oh, this is like another Instagram that you just, people can trade your coin on. I treat it very much like a distribution tool that takes the, community into consideration. So when we go to launch a project, it's like, well, how do we let people know that we've got something new coming out? Well, maybe it's an image of, a puppet being designed, or maybe it's a sketch. Maybe it's a page of the script. Maybe I just jump right in and throw the trailer so people are like hyped up, like, wow, all right, they've got another thing coming up. I really like to break down the process for people over the course of a handful of weeks and show, all right, this is the armature for, because we're in 2 bottles right now and we're in the process of, trickling out the making of and the production process for 2 bottles. It's like, well, this is the armature for Bert, and this is how Bert gets cast. And then when he's done being cast, this is how intricate his hands look. And here's some of the set pieces, and here's the big building that the hotel is, so that people can really get an idea of the scale of production on this thing. Because a lot of that, for example, if I just drop the trailer and then I drop the film, I think so much gets lost there in terms of story for the people that are behind the scenes making it.
I was just thinking that, like, seeing behind the scenes and showing each intricate detail, or like, just a snapshot of like what the people are doing behind the scenes. I think that's a very powerful thing to include.
Yeah. And then like as an extension of that, somebody that I met a handful of months ago at an animation jam that Rob is very close with. His name is Javen, but I can't think of his last name, Rob. I'm so sorry.
Javen Ivey.
Yes. He's a amazing talent in and of itself, but he and I were talking about just kind of how everybody sees the finished film and they get to see these characters come to life, but the blood, sweat, and tears is all hidden. It's all like, green screened out. It's all composited out. And so, just there's daily moments for these animators when they're alone with that armature, with that puppet, that scene, whatever it is that they're working on, and they might not have all the answers, and they're just grinding through it. Shit's breaking, a finger just fell off, like they're having to get in touch with the puppet department or glue
Hopefully
it
just the character and not the people. Hopefully we're not losing any fingers on the set.
Yeah, seriously, I'm sure it's happened.
I mean, it's happened.
But like, there's a lot that I think animators, everybody on set for sure, but animators specifically in this context, that struggle with from day to day. And those things will inevitably just get hidden. And those stories they stay with them. It's like between them and the puppet that they're working with. And to me, part of that is maybe a relief to some people, but to me, it's kind of sad that stuff winds up hidden.
I equate it just really quick, just to that point. Yeah. Kristen, I equate it to like when you watch a documentary about some historical thing, right? And the documentary is like 2/3 of the way through, and you're on Wikipedia trying to get more information about the whatever. You're looking up, like, there's this, like, when something does speak to you, there's this want to, like, know more and see
100%.
more and kind of, like, attach yourself to the thing. And I think, like, this is, like, such a brilliant way to, like, also make it not just, oh, there you go. Yeah. Also not make it just a DVD's extra video, but also, like, I don't know, it feels like it's almost more of like a museum piece. Like, you get to go and, like, look at the actual things that made up this thing that you're excited about. And I think, like, Kristen and I both and Pippin are all kind of like super fan mentality people, and so, like, we understand, like, I think part of what is so, like, exciting about this space is it's that like I may be entering this space as a creator, but I also am, like, a super fan, and so both sides of it make sense to me, like this, like, I remember, and what I want most to do is to make things that resonate with people the way that things have resonated with me, and that there are a lot of things in the past, but even, like, this is still happening now, where, like, I find a thing and it means so much to me that I want to have a piece of it. Like, I want part of it to be in my house in some way, and I think, like, this whole space, it's like made for that. It's like you get to be part of the work in a way that, like something like Kickstarter doesn't, it's almost like Kickstarter's like, you build towards the work, but then it goes off and it's its thing. And there's something about this model where you're part of the work and you're in it with the artists. And also, like, when the work does something, your little part does something too. You're like you're
100%.
not left behind. You're tethered to this.
It's like we're all in this together,
Yeah.
especially in the on-chain space. The community is one of the things that really drew me in and made me so passionate about this is the people. It's like working in a new way. I mean, decentralized autonomous organizations. That was the thing that just blew my mind initially. And, I just feel like continuously in this space, I meet people like Kristen, like Pippin, and they have completely opened my mind and my eyes to a whole new medium, right? Wait, we could bring film on chain. How exciting is that? And, it's kind of like, yeah, go ahead, Kristen.
I just wanted to say, even as an extension in stop motion, especially, we have the beauty of after the thing wraps, now we have all this stuff.
Which is usually garbage. Usually it's
because usually it gets thrown away. And so one example where I feel like this worked pretty well was when Rob did his episodic "You Play Too Much," which stars Fred Armisen from Portlandia. Hello,
wow!
But he goes through his episodes, and there's certain characters in it and whatnot, and we really had a lot of fun with that physical aspect of it, where the characters that he's got in the show are introduced through almost like little baseball cards. And so we had those cards made as NFTs and people were collecting them. Mm-hmm. And then
like this.
And then,
there's one of the cards.
Oh yeah. I've seen the trailer for the one that's going to be included in Film 3 Festival. That's the same character.
Yep.
Style. And so then Rob had, physical cards made up, but then we also had the main character, which is little Rob, made up and then packaged like a toy. And so it was sort of like the top 10 collectors of the NFT wound up getting, a full card set and the toy. And then further extensions of that is like, okay, well, here's a special one-of-one NFT that we have, and that comes with the puppet that was actually used in the physical production. So It takes the waste out of things. It makes it so that the super fans that we have are just like, oh my God, I'm so into this.
They can collect. Exactly. Wow.
And then just to put a little bow on it for us, that funding in turn helps us spin up our next project. So it's like, it really is nice how we can kind of move through, project to project and wind up, it's kind of creating our own ecosystem that winds up spinning us into our next things. That's a little bit of a snapshot of what I think Film 3 in action has been for us. Another angle is, to take a bigger step and actually, if we have a larger production, then we're able to offer, producer roles. Like if this person wants to support at this level, then they can become, an executive producer on it. And there's just all sorts of things that can be done with this model that makes it so that it's sustaining. And then on top of that, audience, community, or the audience, becomes your community, but that community winds up growing. So to Rob's point, where you have Kickstarter and it comes and goes, maybe you're funded, maybe you're not, it's over with. But with this, it's like, what are those guys up to now? Because they're following along the project and they've been really walking alongside us the entire way.
That's incredible. And I love just the work you guys have done. I mean, Kristen and Pippin as well, the work you've done in Film 3 so far, bringing our community together, getting involved with Onchain Summit, Base. I just think you guys are on a very positive trajectory, and I'm very grateful to just be connected with you guys and be collaborating with everyone. All right, I'm going to give you some rapid fire. We'll do some fun questions now. Okay, so favorite stop motion characters ever?
You go first, Kristen, because I have to think for a second.
Damn it. God. All right, I'm going to say Penny from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
That's a pretty good one. I'm going to say, and this is maybe even borderline because it's a mixed media stop motion thing, but there was a character on Sesame Street called Teeny Little Super Guy. That might be my favorite stop motion thing ever.
A teeny little.
Okay.
I only like deep cuts. I only like to go. I don't want to. Nothing will be from the top 40 hit list.
Okay, there's some out of the box ones that I thought of while you were talking, Kristen, because you were like, yeah, I kind of grew up watching a weird style of stuff, and that also unlocked core memory for me. If you guys know Crashbox on HBO, I was like, wait,
don't.
You don't know.
I don't know
This is gonna
Crash
blow
Box.
your mind.
I don't either.
Whoa.
gonna have to
Okay.
go see
Crash
it.
Box is
Wow,
like
Rachel
it's like
dropping
weird.
the-
It's like fever dream news. It's like just weird. It's so weird. It's kind of gross. Like
Awesome.
like it's like just the news out of a fever dream.
It looks so 90s.
Yeah.
I really can't explain it other than that. Like
Okay.
this lady's just like kind of bugging out, just like moving in weird ways. Like I don't know. It's like it's something that like I can't explain. You have to watch it.
Okay.
It's just like like a 90s fever dream. And then another one too, kind of in that ballpark of like weird, kind of like I don't know, like I don't know if you guys know Mirror Mask. This is another one. You really might.
I love Mirror Mask.
Super, I don't know, like very niche, kind of not exactly mainstream, but this was another one that kind of moved me just from the art style, like how different it was. It's kind of bordering on like that, kind of weird out of the box territory,
Yeah.
Totally.
Great.
Anyway, so just some styles and some like old animation things I remembered. Okay, next rapid fire question I have is what is one project you wish you would have directed? Any project.
Mary and Max is a feature film that is brilliant, and I went in wanting to not like it, and I loved it so much, and was jealous the entire time. Like, this is if I could direct, I had made this movie, I could like stop making movies, and now I've become a super fan of that director, and I've met him a few times, and I'm sure it's awkward and embarrassing for him because I'm such a fanboy. What about you, Kristen?
I think so. I mean, maybe I haven't told you this yet, but I have no desire to direct. So,
well, there we go. That's the answer. Nothing.
I'll tell you.
But I keep forcing her to do it. So
I love writing, and I love coming up with stuff, and I don't mind making puppets, and I don't mind that stuff. But it is my favorite to then turn that stuff over to Rob and see how he does it and learn from that. But I would have to say, like, the answer is really simple. I don't want to direct it, but I do want to work on a music video, like, really bad with Rob at some point. So I think that would be incredibly fun.
Let's manifest it. Let's put it out there. Yeah. Awesome. Well, okay. The last question I have for you both is, what is one thing that you would change about Hollywood if you could?
So the people at the top would be flipped upside down. The people at the bottom are now in charge.
That's a great answer.
Wow. That's powerful. Because
if you look at any failing corporation, the people that are like the peons, they have all the answers. And the people at the top refuse to ask them. Because
all right, Kristen just she fixed Hollywood, you guys.
And I would say
do that.
Only original ideas. Like, you cannot remake something. You can't take something that was like
no live action remakes, Rob.
None. Like, I hate it so much, and I think like, and I really think like it's the problem. Like, I think that every time something comes out where they're like, oh, we're doing a live action Family Guy coming out, and it's just like, why? Like, who cares? Why would you do that?
That sounds a little creepy. I'm like picturing. I don't want to see Peter Griffin in IRL.
No one does. And that's the thing is, again, like, the reason it happens is because it's safer to do that, because you can say, well, there's already...
You're building on an IP that has, like, a cult following.
Exactly. Yeah. And, like, instead, like, what has ever been done like that means anything to anybody? It's, like, so seldom. Whereas, like, it's the original ideas that mean something to someone.
Touches your heart. Yeah. Exactly. And I have to say, like, I think earlier on, right, when they first started doing it, I remember enjoying some of them when it first started, but then I guess they saw the success that had, and then it just became so much regurgitation over and over and over.
If there's room for everything, then everything can exist. So it's like, if that was just one of the 20 things that was happening, it would be like, yeah, who cares? Of course.
It's just so frequent because, this has worked before. But I think now, hopefully there's some recent movies like Snow White, like hopefully there's some pause, like, okay, maybe we should rethink this.
Yeah. And like, and it's a shame, like, it's a shame that it never seems the thing that's actually to blame never seems to get blamed, and they'll find something else to blame Like they'll blame Snow White was woke and that's why it failed versus like, no, it's like Snow White is already a great movie on its own and it didn't need to be remade. And especially didn't need to be remade if there was no like huge take on remaking it. But also like, I just don't like, I feel like just throw it all off the table and you only get to make things if it's a new idea. That's the only thing that gets to get made.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, we just solved the all problems in Hollywood here today, folks. You heard it here first. So, okay, just to wrap this up here, I'm curious if you both could share where people can find your work and what's next for both of you.
That's all Kristen. She knows where to find things.
Yeah. Well, it's on Rob's OnlyFans account.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. All right. We'll drop the link in the description.
Yeah, right. No, I would have to say, I mean, most of the activity we have is, on Twitter. So, flannelDonut.com is another one, but I think it's flannel_donut on Twitter. And then it's just regular Flannel Donut on Zora. And that's kind of where you'll be able to see like a full, like, just sort of like a full crazy list of all the things, starting at the bottom with You Play Too Much, which I highly recommend. And then just scrolling backward from there through the assets from the machine and then the machine itself. And then, we're on to Two Bottles. And the future of that looks like the next production, which is called The Lever Puller. And then we've got The Ball coming up, which is going to be animated by Suzanne Twining, which is just amazing. And I'm a fangirl of hers, and Rob has known her for an eternity. And so the moment I get to meet her, I'm going to have to go just have a little moment and, sit in the car by myself and just.
Aww.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys are working on some really exciting things. And I know we didn't touch too much on the film festival, but you guys, this is coming up next month. Yeah. Can you believe it? Next month.
Yeah.
And Rob, you'll be there as well, right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So we got the Film 3 Festival happening in San Francisco, where as soon as I get off of this call, I'm driving to San Francisco, by the way, for the recording for the documentary that's going to be shown here. So as you can see, we got Rob's creations here. Let's see if I can show this.
And the one next to it too. Rob directed the pilot for Ya Boy Nancy.
Oh yeah.
So that was
Get Out of Town. Oh, that's you. Oh, this is so cool. I love these. I've taken a look. It kind of reminds me of like something you'd see on oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank right now. Not Cartoon Network.
Adult Swim.
Adult Swim,
Totally.
Thank you. I don't know why that was like buried in my brain. But yeah, some like Adult Swim-esque kind of creation. A little like off the cusp, like late night,
and it's got that
kind of show.
Media, that mixed media flair, which is just like super fun. You've got the 2D, the beautiful scenery and stuff made by none other than, Monique Ligons. Am I getting her last name right, Rob?
Ligons, but that's fine.
Yeah. Monique Ligons, and she did our logo and everything. And then, just between that and, she was animating as well and Dieter. So it's just like, that was such a great moment for us to like really come together and like take Nancy's vision for his NFT project and turn that into a whole show for him. I mean,
so
that
cool.
pilot was really fun.
Absolutely. And by the way, we might see another trailer coming into the fold here on the website. And for our Onchain Media fans, hello, down here, we got Onchain Media and Zita Labs on a panel discussion, 3 to 3:20 in the main auditorium. And then we're showing On-Chain Humans and Impact. So I'm like, this is about a couple months of work going into like this one day, you guys. Much more for Kristen and Pippin and the Flannel Donut team. They're just absolutely on fire, and very honored to be a part of this. And you guys can go to film3.fest if you want to learn more and see more of what we're cooking. Rob, thank you so much for tuning in today and being a part of the Onchain Media podcast. And where can folks find you?
I mean, mostly the same places. If you find Flannel Donut, you'll be able to find me. I'm connected to everything there.
Amazing. Rob, thank you so much for being here today. And we are going to go ahead and end the podcast here. And to all of our viewers and listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you.